Did last night show that we have a chance of fixing our leaky defence? Let's talk about it. Hello, West Ham Network, it's Holly, and today we're going to be having a little chat about our defensive challenges. So, despite last night's draw, our ability to concede has been making most games this season a lot harder than they need to be. So, we're going to be just having a chat about the number of goals that we've been conceding and what we can actually do at this point to stop the leak with the players that we've got. Now, the Newcastle game is the perfect example of where our problem lies. For most teams, the sensible move when you're 3-1 up and you have a striker that can't play the full 90, so they need to come off, is to bring on another midfielder so that you can hold the ball better. However, the problem is that when you look at how bad we are when we don't play on the front foot, this is a recipe for absolute disaster at West Ham at the moment. Now, the issue is that when you make so many mistakes in defence, you can't just invite pressure and soak the pressure up for too long, because eventually you're going to let a goal in, or three, which is exactly what we managed to do. So we took off a target man that was holding up the ball for a midfielder, which naturally meant that we just sat back more and we tried to defend our lead. So Ings is not a target man, but would we have played more on the front foot rather than allowing them to dominate us if we brought him on? Potentially, and I think that could have been a better swap. And let us know your thoughts in the comments. But for me, if the way that you're playing as a team is working well, you should look to continue playing in the same way. And I think Anton mentioned bringing on a like-for-like player. Obviously, we don't have a like-for-like Antonio, but we do have players that are more attacking, rather than switching up the whole way that we're playing. Because as we saw, it just switched the momentum. It allowed the opponents to attack us, and then lo and behold, we conceded some goals because we don't have the most leak-free defence. So yeah, the fact that you've also brought on Phillips that hasn't settled in the team yet, doesn't run around much, and had a bit of a shocking game and gave the ball away, sort of impacted the issue. But for me, the main issue was that we chose to go from an attacking style, which had us winning 3-1. It was working. It was great. To switching it up and sitting back, something that we've tried countless times. Realistically, we should be able to do this better. When you're 3-1 up, you should be able to take players off, rest players, change up the way that you're playing, but it just doesn't work for us. As it stands, that is a terrible idea because we don't have the ability to hold possession or protect the back line enough. And that is how we ended up throwing away that 3-1 lead. So these decisions, in my opinion, they're on Moyes, and he has to take responsibility. Individual players can also do things better, but ultimately it is on Moyes to be held accountable for which players we bring on and off to give us the best chance of maintaining and even extending a lead, especially when you're at a 3-1. Now, this brings us a little bit of a headache. So the headache that this gives Moyes is that in Leverkusen, most managers would want to sit back somewhat and play it safe because you're just looking away from home at the best possible result that you can get without going too risky. So a draw or even a 1-0 loss like we did against Freiburg. And then you bring them back to London Stadium and you attack them and you batter them. But this has just proven to Moyes that you can't sit back. So what does he do, especially if you can't rely on a comeback at home? And we also saw against Spurs that he didn't make any subs, which is a massive message that he doesn't really trust the bench in any way whatsoever. And he didn't want to switch things up when it was somewhat working. But again, tired legs meant that we ended up sitting back for the final 20 of that game. So it gives Moyes a massive decision to make because we basically can't play how he would want to, because if we were to play it safe to try and protect sort of our goal difference between us and Leverkusen, I think it's just going to cause a lot more issues and maybe leave us with a challenge far too big by the time we come back to London Stadium to face them. So we've got a team there that clearly when we put another midfielder in, that we can't stop teams dominating. And Alvarez offers more protection for the back four than anyone else we've got, but we don't have him against Leverkusen. We didn't have him against Spurs either. Did we miss him? We actually played quite well defensively, and we will touch on that in a moment. But in my opinion, it's not reasonable to expect a team to always go on the attack against the likes of City or Liverpool or potentially Leverkusen. The problem that we have here is that unless we do that, we almost guarantee a loss anyway, as it stands. And our starting 11 is decent, but when you suddenly have a player like Antonio need to go off, this is where the problem is, that we don't have another target man. And defensively, we're so bad. And that's the issue. It just kills off all of our options and kills off the way that we play when we switch it up. So we've now conceded 55, a whopping 55 goals in the league, meaning us and Brentford are the only teams outside the relegation zone who've conceded anywhere near this many. They're also on the same as us with 55, but they've got a game in hand, so it could get better or worse. But this says a lot about our leaky defence, as well as how well we've actually done to get the points that we have, despite the amount of goals that we're conceding. So what can we do to fix this issue? I think in the summer we need 2 new centre backs. I'm really hoping that Mavropanos can come good, but I have my reservations because it's worrying. You almost need a pair that know how to play together that you can trust. Oggy's on the way out, so we need to give him a coaching role or part ways. Aguer's out of favour. Mavropanos, he's made a few mistakes. He made some good decisions against Newcastle. He absorbed the pressure pretty well against Spurs as well. Zuma, bless him, he has no knees. You've only got I looked at the clip the other day of Zuma playing for Chelsea. So because his deterioration has been so slow but ongoing, you don't notice how fast he actually used to be. His legs are really troubling him. He used to be rapid at Chelsea. When you compare how he runs there to how he runs now, it's not good. But that said, the defence did a very solid job against Spurs last night. Zuma in particular did brilliantly, I thought, and he scored our goal off his back. So it goes to show that when concentration is high, we can pull off that performance that we need, especially when we're actually getting attacked as much as we were in that last 20. That terrified me in the Spurs game because we were absorbing pressure. And as we know, usually that leads to us conceding a goal. And that's very frightening. But aside from actually investing in our defence this summer, let us know in the comments below what you think we should do with the players that we currently have available. So the return of Alvarez is going to create some new options. Defensively, I think he does protect the back line a little bit better, but we need to work out how we can just stop conceding so many and very quickly, because individual mistakes have got to be stopped as well. We've given so many points away due to split-second decisions, whether it's us lunging in, whether it's us giving away a penalty, whatever it is. Is it a lack of focus? Is it fatigue? Is it the quality of players? It's really hard to tell at this point, but we've got to work with the tools that we have and grab that opportunity so that we can qualify for European football through Premier League position and just take it in our own hands to make this happen for ourselves. So let us know in the comments what you think we should do. We've got some really difficult fixtures coming up against Liverpool, Chelsea and Man City, last game as well, towards the end of the season. Do we just go all out attack because this is what we do best? Or are these the games that we should be soaking up pressure and playing on the break? It's very difficult to know at this point. Personally, I don't think that we should let teams walk all over us just so that we can play on the break. We've got the quality of players that should be able to hold a decent amount of possession, which seems to be something we've really got to work on. And then when we do lose the ball and manage to get it back, we know that we can play well on the break. So this should be where we do everything to just get out the other end and attack them, because we can still do it. But I feel like you can play on the break when you get the ball back, as well as holding possession. It doesn't need to be that you just let the other team have the ball so that you can keep playing on the break every 10 seconds. But yeah, if we can fix that leaky defence, or at least minimise the number of mistakes that they make that lead to goals, we could be looking at a far more positive end to the season. As always, drop us a comment below with your thoughts. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. And of course, subscribe to the West Ham Network channel. That is all from me for now. Make sure you tune in at 5 p.m. where I'm going to be running through your Hammers headlines for today. And until next time, come on, you Irons.